Hey, it's Chris from Tiny Industrial, and this right here is a Ford E350 1991 7.3 liter shuttle bus. I'm going to be giving you a little bit of a tour of this thing. I'm going to be converting this. All right, so I've been building tiny houses for a couple years now, and I thought, well, you know what? School bus conversions, shuttle bus conversions are kind of taking off, and I thought, let's do one of those. So that's kind of how I got interested in buying one of these, and that's what led me to this beauty here. This was an eBay find, and I got this almost a year ago. It's clearly from Bel Air, Maryland. It was a former Baptist church shuttle bus. As I think you can tell from the side. It has 31,000 miles on the odometer. Now, given that it's a 1991, it's an analog odometer. There's only 5 digits in that odometer, so we don't know what goes in front of that 31,000. Is it a 0? Is it a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5? I don't really know. I mean, I would be shocked if it were a 0 in front of that 31,000. More likely a 1 or maybe even a 2. But it's in reasonably good shape for the fact that it's 30 years old. Got a little bit of damage right here. We're going to have to clean that up. That is how I got it. This door is definitely coming out. I'm going to be replacing that with a more of a residential door. It's got a pretty nice frame to it. Yeah, we're going to see how many of these windows we're ultimately going to lose. It's obviously all fiberglass, and I know a lot of people tend to want to work more with the metal school buses. The fiberglass has its own, issues. There's really no leaking from the roof, but I will be pressure washing this fairly shortly. I will be putting a coating on the roof, like a white rubberized coating. There are going to be solar panels mounted up there. It's got the twin tires here, the dually basically on that first axle, and then the second axle is called a tag axle. Yeah, I didn't know what that was either. The tag axle has these air bellows basically that control how much pressure you put on that. So if you're loaded down heavily with a lot of people, that's not going to happen. But if you're loaded down with a lot of weight, you can add air to that to give it a little bit more lift in the back. I suppose also if you're going to do some off-roading, which I may or may not do in this, would be a good thing to have. Currently non-functional, so we'll see if we get that back into shape. But yeah, it's got fairly heavy oxidization on the exterior here. Definitely see it all through the black sections here between the windows. I did do some rubbing compound, and I bought like it's a polishing compound used for boats. So imagine like a boat's been sitting outside for several years. They tend to oxidize much in the same way that this has. And if you put a little elbow grease into it and get the buffing thing out, you can actually get a pretty decent shine on this, and it's my hope that this will clean up fairly well. Obviously the lettering will have to come off. I don't necessarily want to continue to advertise it as a Baptist church bus from Maryland. And then, it's got some other issues. It's got a little bit of rust, a little denting up here. The rims are showing a little bit of rust. Surprisingly, underneath it looks actually rather good. So I was emboldened by that. All right, that's pretty much it for the exterior. Come on in, come on in. All right, so fairly standard couple steps down here. I do have it raised up a little bit right now, so it's a little higher than it would normally be. I have the doghouse off of there at the moment. There is a diesel fuel leak that I noticed was coming right from, where is it? There it is. Right from this line right there. It was kind of bubbling up through there, and then running over the exterior of the transmission and so forth. Looks like a really, that's a very small piece of tubing right there. That should be an easy fix. I wasn't happy to see things dripping off the bottom, but I was happy to figure that one out pretty quickly. So yeah, this is the 7.3 liter engine, highly coveted, one of the main reasons that I opted for this bus. The dash in here and the lack of an airbag and all that stuff kind of speaks to the fact that we are dealing with a 1991 bus. We will be tearing all the electric out of this thing, redoing all that. It's got the hand crank window, it's got the little vent window, you know, all that kind of stuff is indicative of an older model bus, which this clearly is. I like these space shuttle style windows on the side. This whole mechanism, much to my daughter's chagrin, will be coming out. It works fine. The door is okay, but you know, there are issues on this door in terms of like the seals. There's a crack right there in that glass. This seal is shot, and quite frankly, as nice as it is to have a glass door like that, I think I'm going to lose that door in favor for a more residential door. I am going to get one, I think, that has sort of a large vertical window in it, and that way I still have all the you know, I don't limit my vision in any way, and I can still see out the side and don't create sort of a blind spot. Now, don't be put off by the mess in here, but one thing that I've done already clearly is tear all the seats out. They are gone. That was a fair amount of work. Then there were these sort of cabinets up here, you know, for luggage storage. That all came out, and everything that was covering the ceiling, which was effectively, you know, something like this, got torn out as well. I wanted to basically start with a clean slate. So now all that we're left with is the plywood. It's got some sort of wooden core inside of it, and then I noticed that there are these metal straps that are every 24 inches or so. They run over the top, you know, for stability, and then you can see sections like this where where you just have pure fiberglass and without the wood on the interior of it. So the idea here is that I can work certainly in between these metal straps. I don't want to compromise these. I want to keep these as is. But what I'm going to do, I think, is add a number of skylights in here, and they could either be those pet window type skylights or something a little bit larger. And I also want to add, you know, that fan unit that everybody seems to have in the tiny house world that, you know, closes by itself, has the variable speeds and the lid and all that kind of stuff. So that's going to wind up in the roof as well. Now, I was thinking of maybe doing an air conditioner in the roof. May or may not still happen. This air conditioning unit in the back of the bus is definitely coming out, although it works fine. But I just can't see myself keeping this. I am going to have to cut all these lines. They run down this sealed tube on the side, and then they reappear on the bottom and run sort of the length of the bus down there. So that's that. Then we have this heater unit. I'm going to be shooting a video of that very shortly, and that'll be showing up shortly. It's effectively engine coolant. Engine coolant goes through these pipes and runs through like a heater core in here. There's a little fan and blows the, you know, it's basically like a little radiator unit in there. There's the wiring to fire this thing up or not. I'm losing this whole thing. This bus will either get a wood stove or it's going to get a heat pump. If it does get a heat pump, that heat pump is going to go up there on the wall. This ultimately back here is going to be the bedroom. The rest of the layout is still a little bit TBD. Then the entire floor has to come out. Now the floor in this thing is in terrible shape. It's soft and spongy, and there is a section over here where I already poked at it a little bit, and this is basically the result. Now, I know a lot of you lucky people doing your bus conversions don't have to deal with something quite this bad, but this is just complete trash, and there's effectively a, daylight right there. So this is like a, I don't know what this is, but this is like the thin metal skin here. The frame of the bus, like I said, has very little rust on it, and that's looking good. I think once I tear all this out, which is a very daunting and scary proposition, but it's going to come out. It's kind of like like a beef barbacoa, pulled pork type look and feel in here. So I'm going to rip all that out. There's like remnants of where the seats were connected to these beams, but in the end that should come out pretty easily. But that is a little bit frightening, especially, like I said, because you can see right through there. Same thing over here. You got a lot of daylight down there. The windows are all going to come out. It's all going to get resealed. We're going to strip off these wheel wells and see what happens there. Again, a little bit unusual because of the third axle in this. You have the double tires right underneath there, and then you got the single of the tag axle there. A little bit of extra awkwardness dealing with the wheel wells because of that. But we also have a very long bus. I don't know the exact length of it, but I will be flashing that up on the screen momentarily before I post this video. And yeah, it's really a good amount of space, I think. I don't have to cut corners in terms of size of bathroom, and the bedroom is going to be a decent size. I think it gives me a lot of space to work with. The windows are a little bit on the low side, and I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to deal with that. Imagine like a kitchen counter or something like that, effectively coming up to about here on a window. What's going to happen, I think, is a bunch of these windows are going to be sort of spray painted black on the bottom, and then they're going to just have their top portions basically visible. I think that's the best way to do it, because I don't want to take too many of these windows out or cover them up. For the sake of ease and expediency, that seems like the easiest thing to do. The other aspect of that is for a uniform exterior look. What I think I want to do is take some kind of reflective foil window tinting and put it, I guess, either on the outside or on the inside of these things, so that you can't necessarily tell which of these windows effectively have nothing behind them, which ones do. I want it to have a uniform look from the outside. Now these are already tinted pretty dark, but of course if there were light on the inside of the bus you would see it pretty easily. And this one right here is just plastic, so we'll see what we do with that. That one looks like it got busted at some point. Back of the bus, very nice. Back here is that there is a trailer hitch. I'll give you the view of the underside there. There's a spare tire, and again the underside's looking pretty good. It's not like all chewed up and like a mess. The trailer hitch, my idea for that is I want to get one of those platforms that people put coolers and whatever else on. I'm going to do that. So what I'll probably do is I'll put the compressor onto that platform, and then the compressor will get its power via a hole drilled through here, let's say, and then I can run the the hoses up to the unit and go in right through here, and then the unit's going to sit on the inside up in there. I think that's a pretty elegant solution. The back window is obviously going to stay. Back of the bus looks pretty good. It's got that diamond plate bumper. Don't know what the deal is with that. This is a Star Trans from Goshen. And yeah, like I said, the tag axle, I think initially I thought it was really cool. Now it's kind of become a little bit more of a problem. There is a huge air conditioning condenser unit right down there. What'll happen with that is I'm likely to pull that whole thing out, since that unit exists primarily to run the large-scale air conditioner in the back of the bus. Since that's coming out anyway, I'll have no need for that. So that should still get me air conditioning in the front. Now the roof is going to house a number of solar panels. The thing that I would love to do most with the roof is build a roof deck up there, but again, given that this is a fiberglass shell and there's really minimal places where I could attach the roof to, I don't want to just slap it onto the top of this thing. And then the first real sort of solid thing that the roof could attach into would be sort of this bar, but there's a mild curvature to the exterior wall, and I'm not going to be able to run supports up to a roof deck. I mean, I could, but it doesn't feel like such a great idea. So, and then you got you got these areas up here. You got some kind of shelf area. You got this. Hi there. You got this. This is all going to get torn out. I've seen some people do like really nice sort of like almost like a small shelving unit up here. The seat in this thing is actually in pretty good shape. That looks like it was replaced at some point. I'm pretty happy with that. There's no issues at all with it. So that's looking good. If I can get like a 2-for-1 though, I'd like to get another sort of captain's chair and put that over here, because that's one of the downsides, right? This bus does not have the co-pilot seat. It would be really nice to have, but it's got the it's got the entryway there where it would otherwise be. Now all this stuff right here, this panel, this pole, I'll probably ditch that just because it makes it awkward to get in and out of here, and it kind of inhibits the space. This pole, on the other hand, I will most likely keep to retain some of that support up there of the ceiling. I don't know how much that is supporting or not supporting, but I'll obviously be framing out the entire interior of this as well with something more sturdy than what is currently up here. And then that way, that will be the basis for mounting the ceiling. The walls are going to get framed out, insulated. I haven't decided yet whether I'm going with a spray foam or not, but that's TBD at the moment. But for starters, like I said, the heater is going to be the thing that comes out next. So I'll be doing a video on that. That'll free up a lot of this plumbing that basically runs all the way from the engine to back there. What I'll do is I'll kind of like short circuit this tubing, probably underneath the door down here, or if I can get closer to the engine, it's going to be one or two of these hoses, and if I just basically cap that, not cap it, but create a because one is like the outbound and one is the inbound, if you will. So as long as I kind of close that loop, then I've isolated where the heater used to be. Now I did have a problem starting this a while back, and it was this solenoid. This is like the starter solenoid for the glow plugs, I guess. Something on there was loose. I fiddled with the wiring a little bit, and it came right back. So that wasn't too bad. This is the diesel fuel line here, apparently, and like I said, there is a a leak in that hose right there. I changed the air filter. That's fine. It's got the electric brake controller back there because of the hitch, and this little thing right here is the tag axle controller. Like I told you before, currently non-functional, but we'll see if we can get that going again. It would be a nice to have for sure. And I think that's about it. I think that's about all I have to show you here. No cracks in the windshield. Everything else is pretty much in place. You know, biggest issues are the floor, and that's basically it. Anyway, it's going to be a fun project. I'm going to be posting lots of videos of all the various things that I do in here. Some time-lapse stuff probably of tearing the floor out, and I'll try to, you know, make the best content that I can. Now, everybody else out there that's already gone through this stuff, like, let me know as I'm doing these things if you have any recommendations for me, even on just some of the stuff that I've talked about in this video. Super helpful for me. This is my first conversion. I don't have any doubts that I can do it, but it is all new. I'm pretty handy though. I'm pretty good with the mechanical stuff on the bus as well. So follow along, hit subscribe, share, and yeah, this is Chris from Tiny Industrial. That's it for now. Look for the next video, probably the heater removal. Do that next. All right, thanks. Take care.